Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very latest Cads podcast, the very latest happy Cads podcast. I am beaming from ear to ear today. It's a fantastic day. I might have a slight ear infection, but I don't care. I'm happy with it. I'm good to go. I am joined, as always, as ever, by the smiley happy Ash, who is representing the Welsh contingent tonight. And we're very happy to have him because we're going to need to talk about young Ben Davies. What a player, what a game. Just shored things up at the back. Ash, how you doing?
Same as you, man. Fantastic. Great feeling. I was expecting, I'm sure a lot of us were, a tonking um,
Mm-hmm.
because they had some guys, they had De Bruyne on the bench and they had some other guys. And I'm going, oh boy. And then I noticed that we only had like a couple of teenagers. Uh, but
Yep.
um, uh, the midfielders, we put through in an extra midfield. I didn't quite know how that would work out. It worked out splendidly.
Yeah, when I first saw the lineup, it took me a minute to kind of realise what was going on because I just thought we've got too many central midfielders on there because nowadays, for me, Kulusevski is a central midfielder. I know last year and a lot of his time in Italy, he has been a winger. But this season, he's been phenomenal in midfield. He's been fantastic. He just runs all day long. And we saw a bit of that at the end of the game when the subs came in and, everybody, he then kind of reverted back to centre and just showed what we've been seeing from him this season. But honestly, pushing him back to right wing was such a brave move by Ange in one sense, but also a really clever move because I didn't expect it. I'm sure Pep wasn't expecting it. And genuinely, he ruined Guardiola. Absolutely ruined him. This is a guy who, world's most expensive defender or something like that at some point. Superb, superb player. Guardiola is a fantastic player going forwards. But I think we've seen over the last couple of weeks against Scotland, he was torn apart by Ben Dokes. And against us yesterday, just Kulusevski had the man's measure and so good, just so good. I mean, I didn't think you were allowed to have more than one pair of lungs. He just ran all day long, just kept going. Unbelievable.
Um, yeah, unbelievable. The yeah, I actually think and people do criticize, and even here we talk about we don't know if Ange can actually has the ability to adapt to the Premier League,
Hmm.
but and some of them are really mean about it. He doesn't have the nous and this and that him out now. Just what you were just saying, to put all those midfielders in, he must have seen something. He wanted to try something. He had Madison for 2 weeks. Madison wasn't away on international duty. And Madison looked like he had really been they'd been working with Madison on those very deep runs
Yeah.
into space, and they were finding him. But I just wanted to say something. I did notice that our formation was kind of when they had a lot of possession, we were into a 4-5-1 with Dominic being the one guy up top, and it was interesting with Decky and Sonny on the outside, and those other three guys inside, and then the four defenders. Um, I don't know if Ange had said, "Well, we don't have Van der Ven. We're not going to play such an advanced high line. We're going to back off," and maybe he pulled back a little bit on the inverted play by the fullbacks, but he did some things in that game that obviously worked out. Having said that, Haaland had six chances in the game, six, and he could have scored about three of them. So it could have been slightly, it could have been 4-3 or something like that. Anyway,
He had two
the
really
basic
good chances in the first 10 minutes, and I was like,
he did.
oh, God,
It
is
could
it
have
going to
been
be
up.
one of those days? It
Yes,
could have gone
yes,
so very badly wrong
yes,
for us.
absolutely. They could have been up two
But
nothing just on the line.
thankfully, I mean, the first decent chance, Sir Ben Davies got his foot in the way and blocked the shot, and just enough to put it wide. And then after
Yeah,
that, I think it's potentially just a case of,
no,
weirdly, Haaland having too much time because he just
yeah,
seemed to overthink things and just didn't take it naturally. I don't know. I'm so glad he didn't because
Oh,
it would
yeah.
have been a really bad start to be 2-0 minutes. We'd have been really scared. We'd have been
He
filling
did.
our pants, certainly.
He said he certainly didn't have his shooting boots on yesterday, and luckily for us, it could have been a cricket score. The way that both teams were going at it. But it'd be interesting to know what you thought in terms of tactics. What you thought. Why did you think he put, apart from taking on Guardiola, why did he go with, which was a surprise, to put Madison?
Mm-hmm.
And when you see what Madison can do, it's really heartening. When when he's on song, it's fantastic. When he's working with the team. But I was interested in what you thought, or why it worked that he put three, well, four midfielders, center midfielders in the game.
Well, I think he played three centre midfielders and he played Kulusevski out wide. Kulusevski can do that.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I've watched the game twice. The first time was just pure emotion and nerves and energy,
of course.
and the second time I had to watch back and try and look for things, just try and take a little bit more of an analytical view on it. What did I see? What did I see from the game?
Yeah.
I saw, certainly from Madison, I saw things that represented the best of Madison, things that we saw from him last season, where he'd be getting into the
Hmm.
box and ghosting in and getting chances and taking them. And I have been critical on this podcast so far this season of James Madison. I'll have my hands up. I'll say it, because I don't think he's done that enough. I think he's been playing too far back. He's been trying to knit the play too far back, and not actually been getting involved enough. He needs to be playing further forward. I think that's where the magic of James Madison comes out, and it was delightful to see. The second goal, the first goal. Nobody has said it. It came off the guy's shin. He did not get
Yeah,
a
it did come
decent
off.
contact on that. It came off his
He
shin.
didn't. Yeah.
It could
Left
have
shin.
gone
Left.
absolutely anywhere.
Yeah.
Could have gone anywhere. He was very, very lucky it went where he did. But we'll take that kind of luck. But that second goal was a class bit of finishing. And there is no striker in the world that you could name who would not be proud of a finish like that. Kane, Ronaldo, and I mean the good Ronaldo, not the CR7 guy. Romario, players like that, they would love to score goals as deft as that. It was a fantastic little dink finish, and it was just like, oh, very nice. And he put it in just the right place where Ederson, who is a very good goalkeeper, could not reach it. So
He
well done, James
they were
Maddison.
both.
And then he did some
Yeah,
of the things again where he was dropping back and
well,
switching around with Saar and
yeah.
different players moving forwards and times. And I think that was I think that was planned. I think that was to throw off the balance of that Manchester City midfield. But they had chances.
Wow. So he out tacticked in some ways their midfield, and what in the way that Pep set up, as you're saying.
I think they went in with a plan and they actually made it work. And
Yeah.
it worked out to our benefit. It could absolutely have backfired. Sometimes, you go in with a plan, somebody set up another plan, and the two just don't mesh, and one of you gets out slightly further ahead than the other. So for
Well,
me, I think on this instance, Big Ange came out ahead. Pep looked frustrated on the sidelines. I bet he's slightly reconsidering that 2-year extension. But I don't think this run of poor form from Manchester City is going to continue. I think we've bookended it now. They lost to Spurs at the beginning of the run. They've lost to Spurs at the end of the run. They'll win their next game, which I think is against Liverpool. So, then it will just tighten things up again at the top. This is such a weird season. It's such a strange season. Anybody can beat anybody. I mean, we've seen today, like Ipswich put up a very good fight against Manchester United, managed to get a draw. Southampton scored 2 goals against Liverpool. Um, if it hadn't been for an inspired Salah, they could well have come away with a point from that one. It's a weird, weird season where there are a lot of very good teams and they're taking points off each other all over the place. And we're coming out slightly ahead, but it's only just slightly ahead.
well, it's surprising considering we've only won 6 of our 12 matches, only
Mm-hmm.
6. We're actually only 4 points off second, which is just kind of bonkers, actually. Uh, which speaks to your point you were just making about how weird the season is, how competitive the teams are in the Premier League.
Hmm.
Great, and it's helping us obviously. But just back to what you said about Madison. On both goals, which you would have seen in the replay, he actually started from deep, and I bet you, because he said actually in one of his post-match interviews that he was working with Ange, working on that
Hmm.
because he was doing that season. He started deep and then just ran almost straight on the one goal straight through, and then the second one, the finish was, as you said, fabulous. Although Dominic Solanke did a beautiful one like that a couple of weeks ago. Um, the setup to Sun was also terrific,
Yeah.
the setup to Sun and then running around Sun into space like he did in the first one was just, and I bet you this, they were working on this during the week. They were working on putting him into space, and I think it's to see a happy Madison, and not only a happy, well, he's usually happy when he's scoring and contributing. To see a happy Madison is a boon to us overall, and to and
Oh,
somehow fit
absolutely.
in, somehow fit in him and Decky. I don't know if it'll work in every game. In both, in both of them in the team is also a boon. I don't know if that'll work every game, but it certainly did yesterday.
I think there are certain games where that would be really useful. Certainly against teams that are likely to play more of a low block. I know you were talking about this
Yep,
yesterday on the forum.
yep,
You know,
yep.
we've still got that little question in our head: can we cope with teams that played a low block against us?
Absolutely.
And I think when we play low block sides, we need to be playing two creative midfielders, Decky and Madison together. I don't know if it's just me. It's probably just me, but every so often I just like equate footballers with a particular cartoon character from my childhood, like somebody's Roadrunner. Like Aaron Lennon to me was Roadrunner, right?
Yep,
Because just so
yep.
far, beep beep, he was off, right? James Madison is Will o' the Wisp. You ever see Will o' the Wisp? He just looks like a Will o'
I
the.
know the
He just
name, but
ghosts
I
in
never
there
saw
somewhere.
it.
Yeah, but that James Madison to me is Will o' the Wisp, and he just ghosts in and just turns up at the right time. And I think at his best, he's just a fantastic player. And the really interesting thing was, I don't know if you listened to Kulusevski interview with Spurs Play. He said
I didn't.
basically, and they had a chat before the match when it was decided that Kulusevski would be playing out on the right, and he said to Decky, he said, if you cut inside, watch for me. I'll be running
Yeah,
to the back post.
I did
So
catch that. Yeah,
he obviously knew exactly what he wanted to be doing, which is fantastic,
right.
and it worked. And he made that curving run a few times, and it, got 2 goals from it. Really, really happy for
Absolutely.
him because he's had a quiet season. He's had a rough season. I think it's certainly a poor start to the season.
Now,
Do you
I'll
agree?
I'll tell you who else. We haven't even got to Ben yet, but I'll tell you who else is impressing me, and he's starting every game. They fitted him in. Is Pape Maresar. The guy runs and runs. He breaks up play. Oh, this is one thing I noticed yesterday was that we were doing a lot of niggly fouls and we were pushing them, and I was going, "That's great. Let's do what everyone
The dark arts.
seems to." Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I tell you, Saw is really good at it. You get your foot in, but you're not going in with your feet up or anything like that. And I I was just impressed in how, because we weren't like that against Ipswich, how competitive we were um, on their players. And Saar, in some ways, leads it. I'm just very, very impressed. And it is amazing that a young kid was actually keeping Madison out because we were only putting 3 guys in the midfield. And now we fitted them all in somehow. You know, doesn't leave
I
much on
think
the
the
bench.
Bentancur suspension has benefited him to probably the greatest extent than anybody in the side. He's a really good footballer. When he's
Yes.
got when he's got his head in the right space, he's so good. Uh, my issue with him is there are some times where there are a few loose touches. It's not quite as spot on as you want it to be. But he's such a young player that comes with time. You're not going to get that every single game all the time. He is remarkably consistent for a young player. Remarkably consistent for a guy of his age.
Absolutely.
In 3 to 4 years' time, he'll be running midfields in any game you like. We'll be struggling to hold on to players like that. He'll be that good.
We will. Yeah, we will. I totally agree. By the way, I thought they were all good. Bissouma, they were all good. They were really, really applied. If you think about it, they weren't, unlike Maddison, who was there for the 2 weeks. They weren't all there. They were on international duty. So somehow, coming off the back of that horrible Ipswich result, he was able to get them together within a couple of days, so to speak, for this game, for this match.
I think it's fairly clear something's been said behind doors, because Sonny was talking about family. He was talking about fighting for your family. And then when Kulusevski came out for his interview, he also was talking about family and how you fight for your family. And no family is perfect, and but you stand up for the family you've got. So clearly there's been something said in the time since everyone's got back from international duty that's just got them in that right frame of mind where suddenly, right, okay, we're fighting for each other now. It's kind of easier to fight for each other when you've got a big game like this. It's the smaller games where you are expected to go in and win. That's when things get more difficult. And I really hope, this is the one niggle I have. The one niggle from this game is, where was that performance when we were playing Ipswich? Hello, Austin.
Yeah.
Hi. I've just dropped in for a couple of minutes to say hello because I've got company. Yeah. But I didn't want not to be a part of this meeting, if you know what I mean.
You just wanted to come and share the joy with us, didn't you?
So just the two of you?
Just the two of us at the moment, yeah. Well, three of us now.
Well, yes, of course. Well, two and a half.
We were saying earlier on that we should be having comparisons between you two and our backline. So we've got, the Welsh veteran. We needed you to come in with a top knot just to tie things off today. And then it would have been perfect.
I don't ever see me with a top knot.
You need it, although I think
in fact I have a little bald patch just about there where the top knot would be. So there's no chance actually.
Did have one.
Your hair looks perfect, mate. You look fantastic.
Thank you very much indeed. I love you as well, Stuart.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for joining us. Why don't you very quickly, before you have to go, give us your thoughts on the match? What did you think? How did you feel?
Well, first of all, what a fantastic result. What a fantastic performance. I thought several players were absolutely unbelievable. Kulusevski, Vicario, Sarr, and...
Maddison.
Sorry? Oh, Madders, yes, Madders was fantastic. But it has to be said that before we scored, we could have been 3-0 down.
Absolutely. We were talking about this. Yeah.
So I think that the overall attitude that it was a great performance. Yes, it was a great performance. And yes, the keeper played outstandingly. I mean, he kept us in the game, in fairness, Vicario. But I don't think 4-0 is a fair reflection of the game. I think we were lucky. I also think we were brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking us, but I thought that we could have been down after 10 minutes, and they played us off the park for the first 10 minutes, and then Maddison scored that goal, and what a goal it was. Kulusevski is brilliant. I think he's the best player in the Premier at the moment. Maddison scored 2 exquisite goals. The second one was sumptuous. That control with his right foot and then the chip with his left foot was fabulous. And I think we set them back because they suddenly became scared of us. Whereas in the first 10 minutes, we were scared of them. And I emailed my WhatsApp people to start with saying, I think we're going to get absolutely mullered here because we had two main centre backs off. We had 5 teenagers on the bench, and I just could not see that we could get anything out of the game. And a mate of mine who's a Liverpool supporter said, I've got a good feeling about this. Then when Maddison scored, he said, told you. Then when Maddison scored again, he said, see, I told you. And I still believed it would get to half time and then we'd concede 4 goals in the second half, and we didn't. So I'm absolutely over the not with the result, over not with the performance. But I don't think it's as clear as everyone's saying, because we could have conceded quite a few goals. Haaland missed more chances in that game than he's missed all season.
Yeah, he had
6 or 7 chances. Yeah,
absolutely.
Did your friend from Liverpool also give you the numbers for the lottery?
If only.
Well,
if
Sounds
only.
like he should have. He was on 4.
Yes. But in fairness, he's a member of the quiz team of which I'm a member, and we were going to another, the host of the quiz team, and we had the most splendid meal. So all in all, it was a very good evening yesterday.
I bet it was.
Here's a segue, which would I, as a journalist, can pick out where Oz just mentioned about Haaland almost scoring 3 goals, and Stu, you had mentioned this earlier, and one of those was Ben Davis's block, where he had prevented. And let's segue into this. We haven't done it into Ben. He is such an unsung hero. He does nothing flashy. He's so solid. His passing is actually pretty good. Those left-footed passes up the wing usually get to our player. You know, he doesn't go for his interceptions. How many times has he contributed to goals by being the third or fourth person before the actual goal, by doing an interception, by moving up? He just stands out for me because he doesn't stand out, and I just love the guy.
Actually, he's like Michael Dawson. He's a very, very solid player who you can rely on. He isn't Welsh, is he, by any chance?
Yeah, we said that before you came on.
I think also, like Dawson, we might actually end up missing him when he goes, because I think when Dawes left, there was a space in the club that it's like, we kind of need a player just like Michael Dawson, just to fit in on those few games where, and I think that's going to be the same thing with Ben Davies. Ben Davies, for me, deserves another contract.
I totally agree.
So
I think he's been a fantastic player. I think he's a good ambassador, and he's part of Spurs. And I think being part of Spurs is actually quite important.
You know, just think about how invaluable, even last season when they were both out and we had Emerson and Ben as 2 fullbacks playing centre back. So he was doing it last season. He's doing it this season because he's playing in the cup games. Even if Van der Ven was still on the team, Ben would be playing. So just think, and then of course he's also played left back. Is there anybody more invaluable in terms of his versatility and his professionalism? Like Michael Dawson, we loved him. We didn't ask Mike to play left back or right back. I bet you if we put Ben in midfield, he would do a solid job.
He's a very, very capable player. He's not flash, he's not spectacular,
right.
But you know that when you put him in, A, he'll give you 100%, and B, he's technically solid, and he will always do a job.
What do you think, Stu?
I think he's missing a touch of pace.
Yep.
If he had that extra turn of pace, he would be a first teamer, because he's the kind of player you want in your defence. You want a player who's not going to make too many mistakes. He's not completely, faultless. There is the occasional mistake that comes in, but it's so rare. I mean, he was playing in the Coventry game, I think, and it wasn't good. But if you put him in as like the wild card, the one player who's filling in for somebody else who's missing, he'll do a good job. If you're rotating the entire side, then maybe things are going to look a little bit different. He doesn't shine quite so well in that situation. But we asked Radu Dragusin to step up and fill in for Cuti Romero. We asked Ben Davies to step up and fill in for Van der Ven. And neither of them let us down. I've been thinking about this today.
That's a very good point, Stu, because Dragusin, I've been critical of in the last couple of games that he's played.
Oh, we all were after Ipswich. Yeah.
I thought yesterday he was absolutely superb.
He was really, really good. But the thing I was thinking about today is the match yesterday, beyond Maddison and maybe Kulusevski, there was no one who was sparkling. Everyone was really, really solid. And I think it was the most solid performance that we've had during Ange Postecoglou's tenure.
One thing I would say about that, Bissouma got booked in the first minute.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
First 15 minutes, 15 seconds, sorry, yeah.
I thought it was incredibly unfair because I actually thought he made contact with the ball, but that's another story. But I thought his discipline for the rest of the game was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Which has not always been a strength for for Bissouma, admittedly. He's had some moments where you go, oh, wow. He did have a little niggle with someone later on. You're like, he's stepping on the fine line there. And I think if the referee had wanted to be a little bit harsher, it could have been a second yellow situation. But no, he was really good. I was expecting him to come off at halftime.
Yes, so was I.
I was thinking, how are we going to change things up so that he's
half time?
That's what I thought would happen. Yeah.
Remember, since that smoking incident, it shows perhaps the responsibility that he's taken upon himself. That Ange has very wisely said, "Hey, you got to step up. You're a senior member here." Going back, just what you said a couple of seconds ago, Stu, about solid. Look at Solanke. Didn't score a goal, but was fantastic in everything else that he did. He was a solid guy like Ben was or Sarr was. They weren't flash, but boy, oh boy, did they contribute and work their socks off.
I tell you something, Sarr reminds me of a young Patrick Vieira. I think he is such a good player.
That's what I said even before he joined us. Yeah, the long legs, the loping stride. Yeah, the moment I saw him, it immediately reminded me of Vieira or who was it? Yaya Toure.
Yeah,
it's just that's
I made a
the way he eats the pitch up.
Yeah, I made a comment in cards and I got eaten up saying he's too young to be compared with Patrick Vieira, but he does remind me of Vieira. But Solanke, I said before he joined that I'd really like Solanke to join, and I think he is such a good player. I really do. But look, guys, I've got to go, so I'm going to dip out. Really nice to see you both. And I'll try and get in for the next one because unless we lose, in which case I'm not going to near.
Well, if you don't come, then we'll have to blame it on you. Thank you, Oz. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time, yeah.
I look forward to it. Have a good evening, and hi to everyone that watches this video. Speak to you later. Mate. Take care. Cheers, Ash. Cheers to you.
Hey, mate. Cheers.
All right, so let's talk about some of the players in particular. Solanke. I don't think Solanke got any chances in front of goal. The one chance that could have fallen slightly differently to him was the goal that Porro ended up scoring. If the ball had been played just slightly slower pace, he could have got onto that. He might have got a shot off. It worked out very nicely, though. Not going to complain too loud. But he works so hard. And as always, I mean, like, the first thing you look at with Solanke is how hard is he working? And his touch is so good. It's really impressive because I did not expect that from him. I looked at the numbers and I saw, okay, I actually saw he actually lost the ball quite a lot in possession. He was something like one of the third worst players in terms of keeping hold of the ball up top. So it really wasn't that impressive in terms of his numbers. And then he comes here and he's just so impressive. He's a proper bench up there. He really holds on to things.
So those numbers you were given were from before, just to clarify.
From his Bournemouth time, yeah.
Okay.
And
Didn't quite
obviously,
get.
Bournemouth they play a different way. They play like organized chaos football, I think is the way they describe it. So it's not 100% easily switched over from one to the other. I don't know if you saw the interviews on Spurs Play. They had Matty Wells and the under-18s coach come on, and they were saying that at the end of last season they were sat down with Ange Postecoglou and they were actually going through strikers that they thought would fit the mold of play, and Solanke was the one that was picked out and like was the choice of everyone. So clearly they had a clear choice of who they wanted, and it's worked out really well. I want to see him scoring more goals,
Yeah.
but I genuinely don't think that's on him. I don't think he's getting given the chances right now. Am I wrong?
But no, no, absolutely, absolutely. We are the top scorers in the division, and I was
Yep.
trying to find. I'm not really great
27 goals, I think.
27. But if our top three guys have half of those goals. Madison, BJ Johnson, and Solanke with 4. Those first two with 5, 4. So that's half of the goals from those 3 players. And then we've got a couple of players with two each. Sonny and I think Porro's got 2 as well, actually.
Yeah, I think
And
Power's got 2.
maybe Decky's got a couple as well. Anyway, so he is contributing, and yes, if he gets firing as well, it could be that he's erring on the side of I'm just going to work really hard to contribute. That's my goal in the team right now, and then the goals will come, which is great, which is fine, quite frankly, because we're getting him. I mean, we're obviously getting him. Got 27 goals, so we're obviously getting them. So yeah, he's strong. He is. He and Decky, the two of them are so. excuse me, so strong. Hard to get the ball off those guys. And good touch. Some of Decky's moves are really. I mean, did he do this in Italy? Is he developing this or what? Because some of his moves are just outstanding. Okay, so doesn't have the fastest pace, but his acceleration away from defenders is really great. Don't you? Yeah.
He's always had quality on the ball. He's always had that. Strength, I think he's gone up a notch. Just pure strength, people bouncing off him. There was one part towards the end of the game where the ball went wide and he went and grabbed it. And some guy went running into him and basically hit the floor. And you're like, okay, that's a strong guy. Because it takes, if you've got a Premier League defender coming at you and they hit you and they hit the floor, then you're a strong fella. You've got some muscle there. Well done. But he's been so good this season. He's taken a massive step up. It's kind of similar to Bale. Do you remember when Bale just took a massive step? It's at that kind of level in terms of the distance he stepped up. So he's been brilliant. Obviously, very different player. Not got that outright pace. Not going to score the magnificent goals that we used to see from Bale. But he is influential in the side. He's a leader. If you haven't, anybody who hasn't seen the Spurs Play interview, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube. Look it up, because he is so good with a microphone. He is so sensible, so mature. You look at him and go, damn, this is a future captain. Damn, this is a future manager. This is a guy who could go a very, very long way in the game in coaching, because he gets his message across. He's so, so good and really impressive. So Decky really impressed me. Madison, obviously, really good game. Sarr, I thought Sarr was the metronome of just getting possession and pushing through and running with the ball. It's just so good. You could go through the entire side. Vicario claiming crosses, corners, no problems.
Saves.
Ben Davis. Ben Davis. There's the joke. There's a typical joke. On the way back to London, Ben Davis was stopped at security at the airport because they found he still had Haaland in his back pocket. He was that good. Radu Dragishin good, strong in the air, decent passing, you know, contributed effectively to definitely the first goal, and more attacks as well. So good, just really, really good throughout the entire game. There was one point where the ball came in and he took a wild swing at it, but it went up. It could have gone anywhere. It went up and went over. So when you're playing well, luck tends to go for you like that. It's when things are going badly, things turn to 10 against you. Pedro Porro, another good goal, a good performance. Udogie, really nice, a really nice fullback performance.
Yeah.
Not an inverted midfielder.
Yeah.
Somebody, not sorry. Yeah, go on.
So you're saying that because this is a good point because you just mentioned the two fullbacks or inverted fullbacks. Did you sense? Because I sense, and I think this helped Dragic as well. We were not holding such a high line, and the two inverted fullbacks were not being as inverted, which actually helped them be more defensive. And you just mentioned it. I thought they were solid because maybe they were being held back or purposely being held back, or maybe it's because of Man City, what they were doing that was forcing us back. But
did you see the high line from Manchester City? I mean, they were playing as high a line as we're used to playing. So I think somebody had, one side had to move back a bit. And I think it was us. We dropped back a bit. We made some more space for ourselves. But the game was still compact because they pushed up so high. So which gave us the opportunity to press them in the way that we like. If every team wants to come and play us like that, we're going to end up winning the league. Because we can beat any side that comes out and wants to try and play against. Yeah. We can beat any side that wants to come and try and play football like that against us. It's when they want to niggle, when they want to slow things down, when they want to break our rhythm, when they want to drop deep and they give us space and they go, okay, will you play in front of us and try and break us down? That's when we start to struggle.
And Fulham are probably going to do that next weekend, and Roma are definitely going to do that on Thursday. Let's hope that we are learning how to break these teams down.
Yeah.
You know what? In some of those games, not the games where we were crappy like Crystal Palace and Ipswich, some of the other ones where we didn't quite get the results. What was the one? Well, actually, even the Ipswich one, didn't Johnson, he could have scored early in the game, and it was good play. That might have changed the whole game. So one of the guys in the Spurs play thing, I don't know which, might have been Madison, was saying, we've had chances. We haven't been taking advantage of our chances. And that would help against these low block teams when we do get a chance to actually put them away.
I think Ipswich they've had a rough start to the season. They're a better side than a lot of people give them credit for. They've got some good players in there. They make it half a side. They've got a good young manager who obviously knows what he's doing. You know, brought up well. This is an ex-Spurs academy player and started his coaching career at the age of 21 at Spurs. Okay. So, you know, learn everything he knows at Tottenham, surely. But, you know, you can look at Ipswich and say, right, they're a side that have an idea of what they want to do, and they've been doing it for 2 seasons under McKenna. You look at Southampton. Southampton, it is not working out for them, but they have an idea of what they want to do, and they're still trying to do it. Like Burnley last year, they came up, they played, they won it the way they wanted to, and they went down. That's what's going to happen with Southampton. Spurs are playing the way that Ange Postecoglou wants us to play. So when I hear rubbish like, oh, he's lost the support of ex-players from within the club, it doesn't look like that on the pitch. Yes, they didn't put in the minimum level of effort against Ipswich. For me, it's running hard and working hard. And I'm sure he'll say the same thing. But they're still trying to play his kind of football. There was no big hoofing it out or anything like that. If we see players hoofing the ball on a regular basis, then that's the point where you know that the dressing room's been lost, because he's not getting his message across, and that's where there's going to be a problem. I hope to never see it. Because Ange has given us back the hope. He's given us back the football that we wanted to see, and I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, Benny was putting some stats up, and stats sort of hurt my head. So I didn't.
I saw it.
but I understand what his point was was that comparing Poch. I don't know if you think back. I actually think some of the games, forget about the stats, some of the games where we're just playing that proactive front foot football during Ange's reign were actually better. It took a while for Poch to get going. I think we've actually had better games than early Poch, even though I love Poch and what we were able to get done when we were at peak Poch. I don't know what you think about that, but even this season, 3-0 against Man U. I forget what was the Villa score. Was that 3-0 or
4-1?
4-1? 4-0. 4-0 against. I mean, we're talking about 3 top 4 teams from last season. Well, top 5, but So
yeah.
Man U, Man City, and Aston Villa.
Aston Villa.
Those really, really good games. So when we're on song, we're beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of Pochettino came in partway through the season.
Ah, right. Okay.
He didn't come in and have the benefit of a transfer window and of a pre-season to start with, and there were players in that squad who he needed to get rid of. There was Kabul, there was Adebayor, players who were not buying into what he wanted from day one.
Right.
And I think Ange, right at the start, came in and he said, well, anybody that doesn't want to play this way can go. And some players went. And it's taken us a little bit longer to get other players out. And Ndombele went on loan. Gio stayed with us for a season, and now he's gone. We're getting to the stage where this is Ange Postecoglou's squad.
Absolutely.
I think there's potentially some areas we can still improve on, but to make those level of improvements, we're going to need to spend a lot of money. And we're going to need to be very careful about it because the homegrown numbers are not particularly in our favour right now. But we're at the point where we were with Poch. Poch's second season, things were looking better. Personnel had moved on, personnel had changed, and suddenly things were looking better in terms of the football being played on the pitch and the results we were getting. Yes, there was the occasional throwback performance, and I look back at the Ipswich game, I look back at the Crystal Palace game, and I call those throwback performances. It's back to the bad old days of Conte or Mourinho or Nuno when he started to lose it. And, until those are completely out of the system, we're not going to be doing much of anything because it could still happen at any time. But we're getting so close now. We're getting so close.
The only unfortunate thing about it is that we've got this issue with the black hole of injuries, and we're so thin. As Oz said, I'm sure you noted too. We had 5 teenagers on the bench, which is great. I actually think that's good if we're going to bite the bullet and play them, but it doesn't bode well for when we come up in those big games. We don't have any big game players because they're out injured. And they're not coming back for a while,
You got to remember, one of those teenagers cost £40 million plus. The other another one was courted by Barcelona. So
actually, I actually thought Gray might actually play in this game yesterday. He'll definitely play against Roma. I'm not counting him. I think he's terrific. But those guys I don't know. Those names I don't know. I'm talking about those particular players, I don't even know them.
So you're talking about Malachi Hardy or Malachi. Yeah. I don't know why certain people are calling him Malachi. Maybe they know something I don't, but if I see a name spelt that way, I'm calling him Malachi. His name is Malachi Hardy. I watch under 21 games. I watch under 18 games when I can. I believe he's played 6 under 18 games. I've never seen him. I have no idea what he's like as a player. So
well, there you go.
I don't get to watch them. I don't get to watch all of the games because, first of all, not all of them are on Spurs Play, and secondly, I also have a life, believe it or not, occasionally away from football. So it's not always possible to watch all of the games. Callum Olasese, though, is a real talent. Callum Olasese has been talked about as being on the same kind of level as Mikey Moore. Different position, deeper level of influence, but a very, very good young prospect for the future. And he's another one of those players that we changed our process for young players, because he's another one of those that could have been picked up by other clubs. I believe Manchester City were interested. I believe Chelsea were interested. So he could have gone to another club. But because we changed our process and said we are going to pay our younger players more money, suddenly that opened the door for him to stay. Same thing with Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore may well be a Spurs fan. I believe he is a Spurs fan. But if you're being chased by Barcelona, if you're being chased by Bayern Munich, if you're being chased by the top level clubs, and they're prepared to pay you more money, there's a very good chance you're going to end up going.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So
we got some really good youngsters coming through. There's Luca, is it Barnett Williams as well, who's only 16 years old, who's, oh, wow, he's going to be a player as well. So we're going to see youngsters coming up on the bench. But
and some of them are going to be playing because, say for instance, if Timo, if he re-hurt himself, and we don't want to start Sonny, then and Mikey Moore is out, then who do we have on? And Jed Spence is not on the squad. Who do we have on the left hand side? Ben Davis becomes our winger for
no. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I believe we had a young player, Tynan, who's a left winger, who went to Galatasaray with us, who's part of the squad.
What's his name? Tynan?
Tynan, I believe. Tynan.
Okay.
Put it in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong. But yeah, he's supposed to be another good young player. Again, not seen anything of him, just going by the reports that I've heard. Supposed to be good. Been involved in first team training apparently, and impressed certain people. Again, the Matty Wells interview, they were talking about him in there. So as players that were coming through and could potentially make an impact later on. But the problem is we got lots of young players, and I love young players coming through. I love to see the progression of youth within our squad. But you need to have a balance, I feel. You always need to have a balance. And we've got a slight imbalance at the moment. We've got older players like Sonny. We've got Davis. And then you drop down to Vicario, who's 27. So you go from 32 to 27. Then 26 for Romero. And then you're dropping down to, 24 and 23 and 22. So we've got gaps in our squad in terms of experience. And we really need to make sure that everything is right. Oh, let's not forget Maddison, who's 28 now. Happy birthday, James Maddison, by the way.
Yeah, and you know, on Thursday, we're either going to have to start Bissouma again, or we're going to have to put Gray there. I don't know if he'll put Sarr in that position. So we're a bit light there as well because of this suspension, but we're a bit light in so many areas. So
well, Bentancur can play.
Oh yeah, right. He can play.
I personally.
I know what you're going to say, and I did. And we shouldn't get into this because Dave
we really kind of should. I personally don't think he should play. I think he needs to.
And I disagree.
Say, right, okay. Yeah, I know you disagree. I think you should say, right, you've been suspended from the league. Yes, there is an advantage to us, you playing in Rome, in Germany, or whoever else we end up playing. But let's take this seriously. You know, there's a reason it's called No Room for Racism. It's not called Some Room for Racism. Do I think he's a racist? No, I do not. I do not believe. I don't believe he's a racist. I do believe that what he said. I do believe that what he said is a racist remark. You can make a racist remark. It's a mistake. Yeah, you can make a racist remark without being racist. Okay,
yeah.
But when it happens, you need to be educated, and there is a punishment, and you need to follow that punishment. You need to respect it.
We disagree because I think he definitely. I forgot about him. He can, and I'm sure he will play on Thursday.
He probably will, and I'll probably be slightly upset by it. But Yeah.
Weeksy and I had a big conversation off camera, so to speak, about that, and he goes, "It makes me
Oh,
so
really?
mad." Oh yeah, it makes me so mad. I can't. Even I said, "Oh, we should write. I should write something up on this actually," because he came
You
up
should.
with, yeah, this not just the Bentoncourt thing, but just in general actually, um, because I grew up with it and I know about it from fellow Brits. So
Hmm.
I know about racism. I've experienced it.
Oh,
Didn't feel it when.
racism is not just a other countries thing. I mean, I've seen racism here in France. I've seen racism in the UK. I've definitely seen
Oh,
racism in
there's tons of it.
in
I
my
think
short amount of time in Romania. You know, my
I'm
wife
sure
has
that.
a slightly darker tone to her skin than myself, for instance, and people have mistaken her for being Iranian or Iraqi or something like that because she has a slight Arabic look to her, and people will treat her differently because of that, and that is racism. You know, it's a horrible, horrible thing. I am in the lucky position that I've never personally experienced it, but I've seen it and I don't like it. But again, I mean, as we talked about on the forum, I'm the kind of person who holds my values very strongly. My values and beliefs, I hold them very, very strongly, and I will stand up for them. Um, the guy that wrote the "When the Communists Came for the Such and Such," I said nothing. I heard that poem when I was a young kid, and it's just stuck with me forever. So for me, racism needs to be cut out early on, and you make sure that people are educated, and you make sure that it doesn't show up again. This is a one-off thing as far as I'm concerned from Bentancur. I hope to never see it from him again. I hope to not have similar things from other Spurs players, because I hope that other Spurs players learn from that situation again. But that's just me. I can't enforce that upon anybody.
Right, and for several of your points I agree with, and several I disagree with, and I thought there were a lot of prissy comments on that whole topic on
Hmm.
our forum, quite frankly, and so did Dave. Weeksy felt the same thing, as
Hey, look,
indeed.
you guys are welcome to disagree. If we all agreed on the same thing, then this would be a very boring place, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, let's get on. So
I hope for us that he actually plays, because we're a bit skint in terms of.
we are a bit short, yeah. We are a bit
Yeah.
short right now. But we are expecting to have, I believe, Mikey Moore is going to be available. We'll see. And QT Romero, there's an outside chance. But I have no idea what's going to happen with Mickey van der Ven. I have no idea when he's coming back. We were told after the international break. We are the other side of the international break. He was not playing yesterday. I was hoping he'd be back. Maybe he'll be back for the next game against Fulham. We could definitely do it.
That's gonna be an ongoing issue with him, unfortunately, which is kind of sad. I don't know if you can fix hamstrings, but that's actually Harry didn't 2 seasons in a row. Harry missed a lot of games. I don't think was it his ankles or
Wasn't
something.
hamstring, it's
And
ankle injury. Yeah,
his ankle injuries,
yeah.
2 seasons in a row, at the same time almost, and then he stopped having it. And I'm going, what did they do? What did they solve?
They
What did they?
probably targeted the muscle group to make sure that there was building up around the ankle to make sure that it wasn't quite so weak. If we're going to talk about hamstrings, then Sessegnon is the guy to talk about because
No.
the guy was plagued by hamstring injuries, and then he had an operation. I think it was his left hamstring was a big problem. He had an operation on his left hamstring, and when he came out of that, they said if this has worked, his left hamstring will be stronger than it's ever been. He came back, he played about 35 minutes, and he tore his right hamstring. I mean, that poor kid, which is why he was not kept on. He's now had the same operation on the right hamstring, and I believe he's starting to get minutes for Fulham, or is starting to show up in squads.
Oh,
So
he's back at
you know,
Fulham,
he's
isn't
back.
he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's back at Fulham. You know,
All right.
that summer that we signed, well,
Ndombele,
who were
Sessegnon, and
Ndombele, Sessegnon, Lo Celso. That summer we signed like 4 or 5 players.
yeah.
Every single player we signed that summer has ended up back at their previous club at some point. So Lo Celso's ended up at Real Betis. And Ndombele went on loan to Lyon. Sessegnon's back at Fulham. It's nuts. It's just nuts.
That was actually
Oh,
Poch's
dear.
last window, because then he was sacked a few months after that. That was
Yeah.
his last window with us. Yeah,
And we've just passed 5 years since the day he was sacked.
that's right. That's right. Anyway, so luckily no more international breaks for a few months, which is great.
Till March.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
oh boy, we need those players back. Or,
We do need. We've also got January rushing towards us. I'm sure we'll do a transfer special in the lead up to that. But we've got a busy fixture list. The next 4 games. Bear with me. We've got Roma on Thursday. We've then got Fulham the weekend on Sunday. Following Thursday, we've got Bournemouth. Then we play Chelsea. Then we play Rangers. Then we play Southampton. We've got, I believe, up until the end of the year, we are playing every 4 days or so.
when
We do not have a period.
When does that Man U game fit in? That has to be fitted in.
That's the 19th of December.
19th. Oh, okay, a little bit
Yeah,
later. in
so it's
December.
between Southampton and Liverpool.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got Nottingham Forest on the 26th. And I believe that is the last one where we got. I think we actually get a break after that. After the Boxing Day fixture, I believe we get a break. It's the only time, or the first time between now and then, that we'll have a break of more than 3 days, because we're playing every 4 days until that point. We've got a busy fixture list ahead of us. There's going to have to be some rotation. There's going to have to be some prioritization, I think. And we'll see how it goes. Roma game. I've really no idea what's going to happen. Roma have some good players. Roma have been terrible this year. Roma have just sacked their manager. Roma have just brought in Claudio Ranieri as manager.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, the Tinker Man. So he's back in football. He came out of retirement specifically to come back to Roma because he's managed them before. He's a Roma fan, loves the club. It's kind of beautiful. I kind of want them to lose really badly against us. So if we can do that, we will. I believe if we win this one, we qualify for the next round. So can we please just win this game and make life easy for ourselves, please?
Yeah, Ranieri, we haven't forgotten about Leicester.
No, we have not. Ranieri, Claudio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting run of games. Fulham, as you said, is going to be tough, I think. They will make it hard for us. We are at home, slightly better. And then Bournemouth. I think we'll beat Bournemouth. Bournemouth are a good side. They're playing well, but Bournemouth will let us play. And then we play Chelsea under Maresca, and I think Maresca will let us play, and I think that'll be a hell of a match. I think that could be a really interesting, because they're in good form, playing really good football. We could be in good form by that point, trying to play really good football. So we have a busy period coming up. We'll see some youngsters rotated in. Hopefully some players come back. Hopefully Cuti Romero is back soon. Hopefully Van der Ven's back soon. Hopefully Sonny is fully fit very soon. We'll just see how it goes. So, Ash, I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. It has been a bit of a weird one. We've been all over the place, back and forth. But generally, there's a feeling of love, a feeling of joy. We've had a great time. And, of course, come on, you Spurs.